So while I was erasing the images for the folder for the last video I put out, I realised there was an image there that had sat there for a while. It was actually a tweet James Woods put out. Some pro-paedophile flag. I'm just going to say this now. The majority of the LGBT community do not want anything to do with this. You are appropriating their movement to legitimize your desire to commit a crime. And there is a very good reason that it is a crime, unlike the reasons that it was once a crime to be gay. Okay? Or would you rather I said, okay, don't touch me, Owly. I give a hoot, don't pollute. Okay? Anyway, now that I've addressed that, we're going to continue with this theme of sex offenders. Sorry, I don't want to be accused of conflating sex offender and paedophile, but there is a similarity in topic. Let's go with that. Except this person we're going to address today crossed the line and became a sex offender. I'm not sure if they were qualified as a paedophile before, but since they were attracted to someone young enough for them to then, I guess, be considered a paedophile, maybe they are a paedophile and a sex offender, or just a sex offender at that point because they committed the crime. I think far too much. I really should stop doing that. Teacher who performed oral sex on student pleads guilty. So not only was it a breach of trust, breach of position, but also rape. Unless the student, of course, was female, but as we're about to find out, we're pretty sure it's male. Otherwise, if it was female, she'd be in prison. A Bronx public school teacher has admitted she performed oral sex on a 14-year-old boy on multiple occasions and in multiple locations, but will not have to go to prison or surrender her teaching license. Now, I'm not entirely sure how US teaching licenses go, but generally if you're a sex offender, you sign a register, and you lose the ability to do certain things that would have you around children, because most people don't want to hire a sex offender. So unless teaching licenses allow you to teach adults, I think that license needs to go somewhere. Preferably in her mouth, to stop her desiring a young boy's cock. Dory Myers, a social studies teacher at the New School for Leadership and Arts in Kingsbridge, that sounds like a lot of crap, pleaded guilty to a criminal sex act, a D felony requiring her to register as a sex offender. I'm surprised the judge didn't find some way to just let her not. We wouldn't want to negatively impact on her ability to find employment now, would we? It's not as if employers are going to want to employ someone that has already shown they are unable to resist the urge to breach trust with clients or students in this instance. But who knows? If the progressives get their way, I'm sure this will change. Now, initially, Dory Myers had actually pled not guilty, and went so far as to try and fight to clear her name, because she's a good, law-abiding, upstanding citizen. Yes, well, as a fellow colleague was an eyewitness to you massaging a young boy.
Sarge! Bloody Sarge! Let me tell you one thing, Butler, there are only two sergeants in this man's army, and one is a massage, and the other's a bloody sausage! And if you massage the sausage, you are calling me a wanker!
I think you committed a crime, and with that kind of evidence, what on earth are you doing outside? Why are you not in prison when the prosecution sought a $50,000 bail so that she could be held until that was met? Why did the judge instead let her go on her own recognizance? She can't be trusted. You know, this kind of stuff baffles me. Myers, the wife of a Rockland County Sheriff's officer, embarrassing, entered her plea in Manhattan Supreme Court on Wednesday, a day sooner than scheduled, thus letting her avoid the glare of the news media. Yes, well, isn't it lucky there are content creators like me here to read from the article to tell you all about this and mock them summarily for being an absolute fucking twat? I kid. And she touches kids. There's my dad's joke for the day, even though I'm not a dad. Prosecutors requested that Justice Michael Orbis sentence Myers to 2 years in prison and order that she surrender her New York State teaching certificate. I tend to support this punishment. I think it's a perfectly reasonable thing to do. We all know, and I'm going to point this out now, we all know, had this been a male teacher with either a male or female student, the male teacher would be in prison, and it wouldn't be 2 years, it would be at least 5. You have to be consistent She breached trust, she broke the law, so she should be in a prison, and she should not be allowed to teach. I would argue, if she can't be trusted around children, what makes you think she could be trusted around adults that she's also teaching? There is a bias there. If she fell for one of her students that happened to be an adult, and then just started giving them A's when they were clearly not worthy of a D. It's that same kind of bias, except one of the two people she'd had sex with was a minor. So understandably the gravitas is ever so slightly skewed in that direction. Instead, Justice Michael Orbis promised to give her 10 years probation. It feels like a cop-out, doesn't it? Is it because she's only 29? Like you think she has many years ahead of her? She has so much to give and contribute towards society. I think she had her chance, because in teaching you only really get one chance. It's not like she's going to be teaching children again, short of her somehow vanishing and appearing in Vietnam teaching kids there with Gary Glitter. I don't see it happening. She forfeited her career when she proved she couldn't be trusted around them, to the point where she would stick a 14-year-old boy's dick in her mouth. Defense lawyer Andrew Stoll said Myers will be fired by the City Department of Education and won't be working for them anymore, but asked the judge not to make her give up her license according to a court transcript obtained by the Post. There is a possibility that she could teach adults now or in the future, and we want to preserve that possibility. She still is a talented teacher. Yeah, I'm sure her oral skills are fantastic, and has those skills. That's what he said? And I don't see any reason to destroy her ability to make a living and to contribute to society in a positive way. Well, now let's think about this. If her certificate that enables her to be able to legally teach is taken away, which it wasn't, but let's say hypothetically it is, how does she go about making money? Because apparently it's impossible for her. It's not like there are other avenues she can pursue. Other employment opportunities. Might I recommend Chatterbait? Omegon, maybe, or just Pornhub? The judge relented but added, this will be a matter that any licensing agency will be able to consider if they choose to do that, and of course any employer. The State Education Department typically reviews such cases to determine whether to revoke an educator's license, and one can only hope that they do. I am of the firm belief that once you cross that line, you are never allowed, nor should you ever be allowed, anywhere near a profession that you have, well, let's face it, you've sullied. You've besmirched the educating profession, and you've shown yourself to be a truly untrustworthy and unworthy in general person. It doesn't matter how good you were before, or how good you intend to be after. You have crossed the line, and this is one of those times where you do not get a second chance. Your first is your last. Simple as that. Now, as it has been recommended that she register as a sex offender, I thought I'd give you a bit of context so you understood how long she'll be on this for. At the age of 29, one can only assume she'd be registered as a level 1 offender, which means she must register for 20 years, unless they have a specific designation, in which case they must register for life. The designations include sexual predator, sexually violent offender, or predicate sexual offender. There are level 2 offenders, which are moderate, and level 3, which are high risk, both of which register for life. This is taken from the Criminal Justice website for New York, and I think it provides rather good context and information about how they determine what a sex offender is. Now, for this particular case, because she's on probation for 10 years, that is why she registers as a sex offender. This also is derived from that same frequently asked questions page on the criminaljustice.ny.gov site, link in the description, for anyone who is interested in learning about how they determine what a sex offender is and how they are treated. Oh, and before I conclude this video, it's important to note that level 1 sex offenders generally can't be searched up on the criminal database. Level 2 and 3, yes, but not level 1, which means had this article not come out, chances are she could have just disappeared. There are obviously some rules she has to abide, like she has to have a photo done every 3 years. She has to report annually where they live by signing and returning an annual verification form to the DCJS within 10 days after receiving it, and provide in writing ISP, internet screen names, and email accounts, other such useful information for the police. but the DCGS does not list level 1 offenders on its website by law. So I hope that was all interesting and informative. So I hope everyone has a lovely Monday, and thank you all for listening.
Oh, goddams.
In your arse.
Imagine my shock